We began our journey in Iquitos, where we boarded a speedboat to Explorama Lodge, then traveled downstream. Iquitos is a large industrial port and includes an oil refinery. Peru has 6 refineries. Petroperu operates 4 refineries, one of which is in Iquitos, responsible for processing about 11,000 barrels per day. Peru's government was to begin privatizing state-owned refineries in the late 1990s, however this was delayed. The Amazon flows past Iquitos to the Atlantic Ocean next to schools, homes, and villages. The Amazon provides a method of travel like these taxi boats that cruise up and down the river, carrying passengers from villages and townships. There are occasional vacation boats like these large overnight vessels offered by Explorama Lodge or Jungle Expedition. These cruisers can hold 20 or more passengers and travel back into the larger tributaries with smaller boats attached for day trips. The Amazon dazzles with its vastness and biodiversity. As you sail the wide river, you pass through a corridor of endless green leaves, sparkling with light and dark shadows, and variegated with shades of green. In the Peruvian Amazon, large varieties of trees grow together, but seldom do you see them clustered in same species stands. Elsewhere in the world, where trees grow together, like a stand of fir, a grove of elms, or cottonwoods, instead in the Amazon, the forest is like a gathering of random individuals. Botanists believe there are some 100,000 plant species in the entire Amazon region, including 30,000 species of flowering plants and 25,000 varieties of trees. And along with all this lushness, there are 2 million species of insects. This remarkable biodiversity is one of the reasons that the preservation of rainforests is so important to all Earth's life. And there is an urgency to preserve rainforests because many tropical species are extremely vulnerable. Most live in a single location and exist nowhere else on Earth. Ecotourism seeks an alternative approach to the utilization of the rainforest. To be considered an environmentally friendly ecotourism business, it is essential that tourist facilities minimally impact the surrounding forest, provide alternative sources of income for local residents, and provide education about rainforest conservation for both local residents and visitors. Rainforest land protection through the establishment of reserves is a priority for businesses operating here. Explorama Lodges has been involved in all of these practices since before the term ecotourism became popular. Explorama always uses native building materials obtained locally to produce lodges that are authentic and blend with other Native American habitats in the area. To describe the accommodations, one should first imagine the colonialization days of the United States. It is truly basic: no hot water, no running water, no phones, no televisions, no fans, no power, no internet, but it does have an outhouse. Environmentalists appreciate this power consumption savings in an area that must preserve its resources. Rooms in the Explorama Lodge are small with open ceilings, open windows on the backside, and one door with a single latch inside. Insects or animals that can climb over the walls, crawl under the door, or fly will be avoided by mosquito nets. Inside the rooms, the beds are twin-sized and covered with mosquito nets to prevent more than just mosquito invasions. Outside the room, an open veranda extends in long rows around a garden with a ramp leading to the many varieties of local plants to attract birds and butterfly species. Several local animals visit the lodges, having been tamed by frequent contact with travelers from a plethora of global locations. Macaws and Amazon parrots make themselves at home in and around the lodge. Tapirs occasionally strut through the lodge with their swaggered walk as big as a pig, but taxonomically they are actually relatives of the horse and rhinoceros. All are dense and bulky with hard, tough skin. They swim well, they climb well, and bulldoze paths through the vegetation in their territory. Humans are tapirs' most dangerous enemy. All species are now endangered due to hunting, human encroachment, and habitat destruction. Tapirs have been described as having brown eyes or having eyes with a bluish cast to them, as seen here. Recently, the bluish cast, as described in literature, has been found to be corneal cloudiness, often caused by excessive exposure to light. Explorama guides work closely with visiting scientists during long-term studies of the flora and fauna in these reserves and have gained a greater understanding of the biological processes occurring around them. This is often a mutually productive relationship, with the scientists gaining as much education as the guides. The results are highly trained staff capable of communicating diverse information to a metropolitan group of visitors.
Well, here we see a nice walking palm tree. You can see all the steel roots right down here, very thorny, a lot of spines here for their protection basically. And scientists believe that as they grow, this palm tree moves towards the light, and that's why they also name it walking palm tree. And you can see this palm tree, for example, here, just moving more over this side of the jungle area here. And palm trees like this type are really useful for the house constructions. People build their floors, they make the walls, and also use some of the sticks from the main trunk to build their or make their thatch roof. And this is the stilt or walking palm tree. And on the side of this palm tree here in this tree, this is the famous dragon's blood. So here we have the dragon's blood tree and the very useful walking palm tree. A very potent medicine for parasites, to kill even hookworms. So the local people, when they need to do that, they have to cut the main tree, okay, on the bark to collect the sap.
Right.
The sap is very white, it's very thick, it tastes really awful. That's why probably the scientific name is Ficus insipida, like insipid.
Exactly right.
Okay, and it's taken, by the local people to clean the stomach, your body from parasites, and it's even good for hookworms. Can even kill hookworms. The sap of this tree is very toxic. After taking the sap early in the morning, mixed probably with orange juice or sugar or something to make it taste better, you have to drink a lot of water.
Really?
Because if you don't get rid of the sap, which is very toxic, it can probably damage other parts of your body. So you have to drink a lot of water and wash and clean all the toxin.
Right.
Okay, and that's how also you purify, you clean, okay, your body, your stomach. Basically, it's like a laxative, also a great laxative, and purgative is the word, right? Purgative and laxative. This is the famous Oje. The local name is OJE, Oje, or Ficus insipida is the scientific name. This is a very typical characteristic among trees in the rainforest. It's called cauliflory for the scientist, for the botanist, and that means where the flower and the fruit sticking or coming out of the main trunk, and we see here in this tree. It's called carpodroche, the scientific name. But other trees like the cocoa beans, that's really useful. People eat chocolate all over the world. I consider that food of the gods, and it has the same characteristic called cauliflory. See the hole here by the base of the tree? Wow. Okay, they probably live here. I'm just gonna play a little bit here, see if the reaction. Oh, I think one is coming out. Two. Okay, some more. I need some. Okay, get on the stick. Okay, one is right on the stick. You can see it. I'm gonna try to put it on the. There you go. It's on the trunk. Yeah, they can be painful. I got a couple of times stung by this, and I tell you, it was painful. I don't recommend for you. You see them? They're two. About an inch. Some can be a little bigger.
Every night we slept soundly, listening to the night creature's music. The next morning we found ourselves riding in a skiff up into the tributaries off the Amazon River. To get to the tributaries, or backwater rivers and streams, we traveled along the Amazon between the mainland and a large island called Yanomamo. In the architecture of the Amazon basin, tributaries are the veins carrying water from upstream rainfalls, traveling hundreds of miles down into the Amazon River. Each of the tributaries hosts a slightly different species collection based upon other local competing species in that area. Here we see an Amazon kingfisher. None of the animals likes to be photographed, as demonstrated by this capped heron. Plants have no problem being photographed, as demonstrated by this Victoria water lily. Maybe this boat scares the animals. Well, we terrorize these Wattle-Jacana. Now here's an interesting activity. Those fluffy puffs of cotton-like material are called kapok fibers. They are being released from their seed pod by ravaging parrots. These kapok tree fibers have an historic significance. All of the U.S. life preservers were at one time produced using this natural flotation material predominantly during World War II. Very few realize the significance this once life-saving inanimate object played in saving lives. Aracari are birds cousin to the toucan and act in a comical manner, sometimes loudly and obnoxiously, but the primates, such as these saddleback tamarins, exhibit the most similar human characteristics of all jungle species. Perhaps because they are our evolutionary predecessors, perhaps because they have similar reality tunnels. Perhaps someday we will know. One unique characteristic of the saddleback tamarin is that they are polyandrous, where one female mates with two males, and they typically give birth to twins. The male tamarin carries a young until they are mature enough to forage on their own. CITES, which stands for Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, lists tamarins as an endangered species. Tamarins are threatened by habitat destruction and fragmentation, like clearing land for agriculture or building roads through forests. Also, tamarins are heavily collected for the pet trade, and because they breed easily in captivity, many species are used in biological and medical labs. Fortunately, the United States, which was the biggest market for pet monkeys, has now prohibited their importation, and since the latter part of the 1970s, most South American countries have banned primate exports altogether. Moving up the food chain, we occasionally encountered a visit with the humankind on our river journeys. At one point along the way, we met a family selling fish from their dugout canoe where they clean and prepare fish. They use gill nets to catch fish, then store the live ones in a net bag placed underwater. Those that die are gutted and preserved in salt before taken to Iquitos markets. One of the more vicious fish they catch is the bulldog fish, demonstrated here, with large fangs protruding from the lower jaw. Other fish include catfish and cherishons, the latter of which they call sardines. This Indian family lives on a corner between two tributaries leading to the Amazon River. You can see they are doing well with several children who also care for their younger siblings. Later, we had the chance to visit the Explorama resident doctor, where she gave us a wonderful interview about her local clients. On the Amazon Faces, Disc 2, there is a full interview of La Doctora, but here we will see some brief clips from that interview.
My name is Linnea Smith. I used to be a doctor in Wisconsin, and then in 1990 I came down here as a tourist. I was here for 1 week, and then I decided I didn't want to go home. So I came back June of 1990 with a 3-month leave of absence and a doctor's little black bag with a stethoscope, otoophthalmoscope, blood pressure cuff, and one small microscope with a little mirror on it that I put in the window at the lodge at Explorama. And Explorama gave me a room in their house, and as you folks know, the houses are with thatch roofs. There was a kerosene lantern, there was a pitcher that I would fill with water to shower, there was a bed. After a while, they made me a little cupboard for medicines once I got some. And I set up shop there, worked there till March of 1993. On one of my trips back to the States, I got interviewed on public radio. The interview got heard by a fellow up in Duluth, Minnesota, who wound up talking his Rotary Club into raising the funds to build this clinic. They came down and built this in 1993. They bought us solar panels so we would have light. They dug us a well, and they gave us a rain tank also. And again, I may have noticed it's been raining a lot lately. We've had rainwater in our rain tank. And so for the last 10 years, this has been where I work. We see somewhere around 150 to 200 patients a month on average, somewhere close to 2,500 a year. And most of these are folks who don't have access to other medical care. We see whatever walks in the door, and sometimes that's it's mostly acute medical illness. And then the funding to keep it going is from anybody who wants to donate. When I go back to the States, I do talks. People see our website, www.amazonmedical.org, or they read my book, which is a compilation of a few of my journals, not anywhere near all of them. Or they simply visit. Most of our support over the years has come from the tourists who visit here, and they write back and make a donation to the Amazon Medical Project in Wisconsin. Explorama also helps. If it were not for Explorama, this clinic would not exist. They've fed me for the last 13 years. Let me ride in their boats, and it's their tourists who come here and then go home and send us support. And then there's a couple of tour companies. One, International Expeditions, brings people here, and they give me a few dollars for every person they send. And then Overseas Adventure Tours has a parent company with the Grand Circle Foundation, and they've made a grant for each of the last several years to support the Well Child Care Program. So that's the clinic, what we do, who we are, how we do it.
Shall we do a quick tour then? Sort of flip it around and
sure.
do it the other way.
We have our office here where we keep our records, which are handwritten notes. We keep medical records on all of our patients. They're pretty simple, but we do that. We've got a pharmacy in here where we keep medicines, and that's like everything else about the clinic. We buy some, I buy some in Iquitos, we get some donated by tourists, I pick up some in the United States when I'm there, a little bit here, a little bit there. But we need to give people medicines before they leave, otherwise there's no point in writing a prescription out here. Then we have an overnight room here where we can keep patients if we need to keep somebody overnight. 2 examiners, take a little photograph in this one if you want to. This is the smaller of the 2.
Nice view.
Dental room where we pull teeth. Vaccine, we have anesthesia. A very large hammer, it works just fine. Room for me if I need to be here overnight. We've got a room for tools, we've got a couple of other sleeping rooms for whoever needs them. And that's it.
You stay?
I have a little house near the lodge, but on the corner from the bar.
Right next
Good
to the sign.
location.
After a few days at the Explorama Lodge, we packed up and boarded the Explorama water taxi headed to our next destination. We rode about 45 miles down the Amazon River and then up the Napo River. As we neared our destination, we traveled into narrow canals that lead up to the rear of the ACS field station. ACS stands for the Amazon Conservatory of Tropical Studies. This field station provides overnight rooms and facilities to host scientific research as well as eco-tourist visits. Its construction and layout are very similar to the Explorama Lodge, but is more secluded from the Amazon River and is located only a short distance from the Canopy Walkway. After settling in our rooms, we returned back to the canal for more creature adventures. Surrounding the canals are reserves protected by CONAPAC and the ACS Foundation. CONAPAC is an association for the conservation of the Peruvian Amazon and is a Peruvian-based, non-governmental, non-profit organization that was established in 1990 to receive donations and put them to work in the Peruvian rainforest. CONAPAC currently holds the biodiversity rights to the 250,000 acres located in the area to the north and east of the Explorama Reserve, the Canopy Walkway, and the ACS Field Station. CONAPAC is also an active participant in a joint program with the ACS and Iquitos Board of Education to bring conservation education to rural rainforest schools. The ACS Foundation is a U.S.-based, non-governmental, non-profit organization that accepts donations used towards educational programs, the construction and outfitting of the ACS Field Station and its facilities. The center's purpose is to further the conservation and study of rainforests by disseminating information and providing educational opportunities which include access to tropical forests. In the rainforests, creatures range from beautiful colors to camouflage that hide them amongst their surroundings. For instance, the brilliant neon blue morpho butterfly hops through the air reflecting sunlight brightly like a blue mirror. Other animals prefer to blend into their surroundings and mimic other creatures like the white water spider that looks like a fungus growing on a tree trunk. Then there is the owl butterfly, whose owl-eyed wings scare most predators away. And there are long-nosed bats that look like tree branch stubs. On the other hand, pygmy marmosets are small and quick movers to avoid predators. The average body mass of an adult pygmy marmoset is about 3 ounces, making it the smallest New World primate. This small size is a result of evolutionary dwarfism, having evolved from a larger-sized monkey. They prefer to live in forests, at rivers' edge, and in floodplains. They live in groups of 4 to 6 individuals. Members of a troop generally focus their feeding on one particular tree, which becomes a place for social activity. Pygmy marmosets eat plant sap and gum, as demonstrated here, licking the sap from this tree trunk, as well as insects and occasionally fruits. Only the dominant female bears young, and she may mate with more than one male. These females dominate all other members in the group, including the males. Pygmy marmosets often give birth to twins about once a year. All group members share in the responsibility for caring for the young at all times. Black mantle tamarins are also quick and nimble, but weigh up to about a pound. Black mantle tamarins live in trees located in primary and secondary forests. They forage for a number of food items including insects, ripe fruits, gum, and nectar. This species forms associations with the saddleback tamarins, which may serve to assist in protecting them from predators. Black mantle tamarins give birth to twins like most tamarins and marmosets. Enough of this monkey business, onto the canopy walkway. At the entrance ramp, which is the last ground-connected platform before being suspended in air, the first step onto the walkway creates a squeaky calamity from the precarious suspension bridge before the exhilarating dance begins.
Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba se necesita una poca de gracia y otra cosita, arriba y arriba, ay arriba y arriba, hacia arriba iré, por ti seré, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán.
At the observation tower, the steps lead up to a beautiful panorama background for the rainforest canopy performance to begin. Within reach, while in the observation towers, you can find some of the data collection devices, such as this rainwater cylinder. From these devices, scientists collect and analyze samples to measure chemical impacts to the rainforest based on water composition. A professional design team selected the canopy walkway site after surveying and analyzing the topography of the area. The design specified a tract of land encompassing a ridgetop and numerous tall emergent trees. By utilizing this existing ridge, the additional altitude resulted in spectacular vistas from the tallest platforms. The canopy view is the inverse exposure of viewing creatures from the ground. That is, from the canopy, it is dark between tree leaves, where from the ground looking up, it is light between the leaves. Thus, the creatures and plants become a silhouette from the ground. From the canopy walkways and observation towers, you can see all the plants and creatures with sunlight illuminating their beautiful colors and patterns. This is interesting. To demonstrate the rainforest seed dispersal, this white-tailed trogon regurgitates the pit after removing all the fruit covering its seed. That seed will now compete with a plethora of plants and creatures on the forest floor. Our guide Cleaver caught the following footage on tape up until the thorny-tailed lizard.